New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And hello again, dear ones. Rev Robert with you over here.
And Reverend Michael over here.
And we're a couple of ministers talking shit. Rev Elzia is on an airplane this morning, and so we've called in the right Reverend Michael Mangus to fill in and support. And thank you for being here this morning. How's things in Ohio?
Oh, well, let's see here. We have 41 degrees with the temperature dropping. And we're supposed to get snow flurries today. So typical March weather here. So.
Exactly. You know, everybody's talking about this atmospheric river that in my day we just called it the jet stream. I don't know what the heck that is, but prayers and blessings for California. They're going to get hammered with another round of snow this week. And here in Colorado, we're having an above average snowfall. We're expected to get some too this week. So possibly even today, we'll see.
Well, it seems like, again, a hassle, but they're out of drought situation now. Their reservoirs are filling up now.
Yeah.
Southern California. So, those people who have prayed for rain are getting it in a different form, but they're still getting it. So they have their prayers answered. So
yeah, someday maybe we'll talk about the story of Mr. Hatfield in LA. But until then, let's talk about the cocaine bear. Okay, I gotta talk about this story, folks. If you haven't seen this yet, there's now a movie. It's a movie. It's based on a real life story. However, the story is much, much different than the movie. Many years ago now, a drug shipment got lost in the Appalachian Mountains of Georgia. And the following spring, a hiker came along and found the big bag of cocaine. However, it had been ripped into. It had been opened and almost destroyed. Not far away, the hiker found a dead bear. So the speculation in the original story is the bear got a hold of the cocaine and went a little crazy and OD'd on the cocaine. Well,
that was it.
And that was it.
Right.
They took that story. Now the bear is a murderous drug addict running around the mountains of Appalachia, hunting down the tourists and the hikers and the rangers and killing people. And I would imagine going back for a toot out of the bag in between. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. But it's made $41 million.
Mm-hmm.
This is insane. I don't see how watching a bear snort coke and kill people is entertainment. But it leads to all kinds of real stories showing up in the world. And this week, Michael, a story not real close to you, but in your neck of the woods, of African serval cat escaped from a car during a traffic stop.
Mm-hmm.
The cat ran up a tree. The fire department was called. They didn't get the cat down. The cat fell and broke a leg. Cat got all kinds of upset, so they had to take the cat to a facility. Guess what they found in the cat's bloodstream?
Please tell me, Reverend Briz, what did they find?
No. You got to. What do you think they found in the?
Okay. Okay. Oh, they found cocaine.
They found cocaine.
Wow. Oh,
Interesting. So now we've got Cocaine Cat. If you see it on the internet, folks, Cocaine Cat is a real thing.
so was it one of these little cats or was it one of the bigger ones?
No, it's one big cat. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not allowed to have those in Ohio.
No, not over 40 pounds. And this cat was over
No.
40 pounds. So luckily, the cat didn't take a bump and get murderous about it.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
We have enough issues to deal with in Ohio. So rather than having a cat go crazy and hunt down people.
And if you want to visit the Cocaine Cat, it now lives at the Cincinnati Zoo. The Cincinnati Zoo took in the Cocaine Cat. Interestingly enough, this isn't the first time Cincinnati Zoo has had a drug addict animal either. A handful of years back, they helped rehabilitate a macaw monkey that had methamphetamines in its system.
Oh my.
I don't even want to imagine what that would be like, living with a meth addict monkey.
Well, we have quite a drug problem here in Ohio, and especially I think that there was someone locally who went ahead and testified in Washington D.C. from our area about the problems that we have here in Summit. I'm just saying here in Akron, Summit County. That a couple of years ago, especially during the COVID-19, there were people going into the. I remember I was sitting in the emergency room waiting on Diana, and there came in the door someone again who had OD'd. Wheeling them right in. So no, we. That's why I'm saying we have enough problems here. So rather than having a murderous cat on the street.
Exactly. We do have an interesting twist to another story here today that I want to talk about too. Folks, in the last couple of days, something really ugly happened in Mexico, and a group of 4 Americans crossed the border for medical care, to see a doctor. And very shortly after crossing the border, they were kidnapped. We now know that 2 of the people were killed in this kidnapping attempt.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2 people were released. Well, the breaking news this morning is the Mexican cartel believed to be responsible for this.
Yes.
Handed over the kidnappers.
Wow.
Well, not so much handed them over as tied them up, threw them in a car, and left a letter for somebody to find them.
Wow.
But the letter very clearly states that we're not involved here. We didn't do this. The letter said, quote, "We have decided to turn over those who were directly involved and responsible in the events, who at all times acted under their own decision-making and lack of discipline." Well, at least the cartel admits that they don't have any discipline.
You mean they have ethics?
I would guess.
Wow.
And folks, our hearts go out to the families of those that were lost in this.
Absolutely.
And it's funny. To me, it's funny that the cartel actually turned these guys over, which means there was a conversation where somebody said, "They did what?" I don't speak Spanish, so I can't do it in a Spanish accent. But they did what? Somebody at the top of some organization said, "They did what? Get their asses in here," right? Or they figured out that they need to make some goodwill if they're going to keep operating their illegal operations by handing these guys over. But the good news is we now can get some closure for these families.
Yes.
And these guys can be held responsible. That's not what that. But now here's where I really want to dig in. What this points to, and I'm sorry to say it, is they were traveling. They wouldn't have been there if America had a healthcare system that worked. and was affordable because they were going there to get inexpensive health care. I know somebody that a number of years back would travel between San Diego and Tijuana for dental care because it was, and she had some old fillings that were turning bad, and now it's starting to poison her, and radiation poisoning from the fillings, had to have the fillings removed. But the cost to do it in San Diego without coverage, insurance coverage, was so incredible. She just jumped over the border and got it done for almost nothing. And it was quality care. It's not like you're sitting in a chair in the middle of a dusty parking lot. Quality care. And these Americans were traveling to Mexico to try to access health care that they couldn't afford at home.
And that kind of medical tourism is also, people also have gone to other countries and, have gotten health care for much less. I know that a friend of mine who's a Hindu nun, that she needed glasses. So when she went over to India, that her organization had a optical dispensary that they were able to make her glasses for next to nothing, and able to give it to her. So no, it points to the fact that that the healthcare in this country is broken, that we need some type of universal healthcare here, and that I'm just thinking even of my situation. I went ahead and my pension gives me a certain amount of money to apply to insurance. And that still, that's about $1,000 a month that I, plus, including the allowance I get from my pension fund, but still that I have to pay on top of that, all the co-pays and everything else on top of that, and all the deductibles. So, and they've scheduled some things for me here that I could be ending up paying some serious money for. So I'm saying that we need, again, we already have a mechanism in place to do this,
right,
which is Medicare. It's already there. All we have to do is say, or Congress has to say, okay, Medicare for all.
Yep.
And that our payments, now we would still be making payments, but we would be making payments to the government, which will be a whole lot less than what you're currently paying with insurance. Now, even if you go on the American Affordable Health Care, even if you go on the marketplace, that it's still pretty hefty.
Oh yeah.
So even with
and then they deny half of the claim, right? And then their whole job, really. And let's be straight up, folks. I'm not a big fan of insurance companies. We carry the insurance we have to be legal and to keep our family safe. And more often than not, they're trying to deny any claim that comes in. That's their job. Deny everything. And it really isn't supporting Americans. It's supporting a small group of insurance companies that are making all this money.
Yeah, we have. Can I put up a comment here?
Yep.
So Linda this morning. Good morning, Linda. Thanks for joining us. Politically, we have a significant faction in this country who are working to remove from women control their own bodies in the realm of reproductive health. Oh, that's a topic in and of itself. Yes, Linda. No, absolutely. And with this week on Wednesday, International Women's Day, that yes, absolutely. And that I know that these two men here we are staunch supporters of women, and that we have made our voices known about that again, that women, you may disagree about certain things, like the abortion issue, whatever that it is. And that is a woman's choice. That's not my choice to make. That is not your choice to make. That is their choice to make.
Right.
So I support that, and a woman's choice to again to run her own body, and not again to have a group of men decide of what to do. So,
what I've loved about New Thought as a philosophy, as a teaching, as a community, is we say it a lot. It's not, I don't know that it's written down anywhere, but we say it a lot. We don't teach people what to think. We teach them how to think.
Yes, absolutely.
Teach people how to think and how to use critical thinking to make the decisions that are best going to suit their lives. That doesn't happen in politics. People aren't given, and even our politicians often aren't given the information necessary to create an informed decision. We overload bills with hundreds of pages of bullshit and don't expect and know that none of our representatives can read all of that stuff in the 2 or 3 hours before the vote. And they have to go on what somebody else says is in there, or what somebody says isn't in there. And we've created a system where it's easy, actually, to take away a woman's reproductive rights.
Yes.
It's become far too easy. And now more than ever, it is time for a new thought in healthcare. It is time for to bring new thought into these questions and say exactly what we're saying. In a world where we believe so much in personal responsibility, let's make people responsible for their own choices. And it would appear to me that the predominantly Republican conservative wing of our country wants to stand up for personal responsibility until maybe it takes a little bit of money or a little bit of involvement, and then no, we're just going to outlaw it.
So there are people who say, well, respectfully, you two reverends should not be talking about this because it's politics. No. The reason we bring it up is because this is a spiritual issue. This is a moral, ethical, and spiritual issue. That's the reason why, again, that we have taken the stance here on our network is to speak up and to speak out, and to be solution oriented towards, again, as we have been talking about with healthcare the past few minutes. Why can't there be universal health care like there is in other developed countries? It has gotten way out of control. I know that a friend of mine being treated for a condition, we are having to apply to the drug company for this wonderful drug that they have that would put them in remission.
Wow. That
runs $15,000. And they were denied coverage on that twice. Yeah. So myself and Diana were having to, we're helping this individual go through the paperwork with the drug companies to try to get it for free or for a much lower cost than that. But $15,000 for a 120 pills or a 60-day supply, that's crazy.
And that's a 60-day supply.
That's it. All right.
Yeah. So $90,000 for the year?
Something like that, yes.
Needed to be on this drug for a year, it would be $90,000 a year. Right? Anybody that looks at this and thinks that this is normal or is appropriate profit, we'd have to have a conversation about that. We're going to send a shout out and prayers and blessings to Senator Mitch McConnell.
Yes.
I don't agree with his politics. I don't agree with much of how he looks at life. I don't agree with how he does politics. And he took a fall in a DC hotel yesterday or the night before, ended up with a concussion, because of his age, he's over 81 years old. They're going to keep him in the hospital for a few days for observations, make sure nothing more goes wrong. But he's not worried about any of that from a financial standpoint because he's got insurance and we pay for it. Now, I don't begrudge that. Anybody that's doing a life of service to our country deserves some perks and some, but he has no point at all, no worries at all about the financial aspect of that. Someone else, a lot of people in our country fall down a flight of stairs and end up with a concussion, and that gets self-treated at home.
Yes.
With ice packs and ibuprofen and who knows, maybe a little bump of cocaine once in a while, but not here, just others. It's crazy where we are.
No, and that's one of the reasons why, again, I think in their hearts that they are good meaning people, but they're saying, oh, you guys are putting, you guys are going against the New Thought teachings. You're going ahead and you're putting energy into the problem. No, we are saying that we need to have, again, a solid voice and say, well, what is the spiritual thing to do here? And again, the spiritual thing to do here is love. Doesn't love cover healthcare? And I believe it does. And so us, again, uniting our voices and saying, listen, we need to have a universal health care in this country. And again, Medicare for all.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
And Linda's still with us. She says, I struggle at times to apply New Thought principles to political situations. Understandable. Many of us do. If we are all of God, that includes the people with whom I disagree. Yes,
absolutely.
Linda, absolutely. That's why we're praying for Mitch McConnell today.
Yes.
Because, and that's why I pray for those that I don't agree with. Not that they're going to see the light, not that they're going to see the world through my eyes, not that they're going to see it my way, but because they have that same inalienable right to use the power, to use these principles. The thing I see is they don't use them for good. Yes. They use the power for personal gain. Let's talk about Tucker Carlson for a minute. I don't normally talk. I don't normally bring Tucker into this conversation, but text messages have been leaked this week about Tucker Carlson and his complete disdain for Donald Trump.
No.
We now have evidence submitted into court filings that Fox News has been lying to its viewers for years.
Oh, absolutely.
Fully aware. Rupert Murdoch is now on record as being fully aware that his network was lying to people about COVID, about the 2020 election. They lie and they lie and they lie. And that is the difference. So the way we can be in political situations is not to push just what we believe, but push what is true.
Yes, absolutely.
And be willing to call out what is not. In The Science of Mind textbook and other writings, Ernest Holmes gives us this most incredible process, which we call spiritual mind treatment. Others call it affirmative prayer. Some just get lazy and call it prayer. And it's not a begging and beseeching, but it is an affirmation of the truth as we know it.
Yes.
Now, within that process, we also have a thing called argumentative treatment. And that is the point where we vocally cast aside the false beliefs. We name them and we affirm that they have no power, that there is no truth in that. A couple of our colleagues yesterday and put up a couple of great posts online exactly around this, how we've been told for years, this is not our avenue. Get in your own lane, stay in your own lane. We're talking human rights issues here.
Yes.
It's a woman's right to choose. It is our right as individuals to also be part of the discussion on the major issues, on gun control.
Absolutely.
On all of the social justice issues, it is absolutely our place not to make them evil. They do that themselves. Sorry, no, there is no evil in the world, but to say, hey, that ain't the truth here, and call these folks to a higher perspective, a higher view, if you will, of what the truth really is. If it's tearing things down, if it's breaking things down, it's not the truth.
Right. And so it just so happens that these individuals are involved in politics. And so that is the reason, if you watch my show on Friday evenings on the Friday Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network, 6 o'clock Mountain Time, 8 o'clock Eastern, shameless plug. So we talk about, again, that the show that I'm replaying tonight is in honor of my longtime friend who made her transition last year, the Reverend Dr. Charlotte Manning. And Charlotte and I would get on. She was a member of the NAACP in Washington, D.C. And so we would get on and we would talk about issues, and especially from her perspective, to hear her talk about her experiences growing up in segregated Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
That it just absolutely, I could not imagine that. So we're speaking up and speaking out because this is what is called for right now. Yeah. We were born, the New Thought movement was born from, again, a social activist movement, which belonged to Emma Curtis Hopkins and also to Wallace Wattles. Those are two of the many that went ahead and said, listen, we need to change this in this country. We need to change the labor laws. We need to change how we interact and empower women or don't.
Yep.
So we come from that, again, that individuals who go ahead and say, well, you ministers, you should be, just talking about spiritual things. We are talking about spiritual things. This is spiritual, what we're talking about. So we're talking again from hearts of love and saying, listen, these things need to change here in our country. And Linda said, she said, seeing the light in all situations takes regular monitoring of our thoughts and beliefs. Absolutely.
Yep.
And again, I think that talking about Senator Mitch McConnell, who's from the state of Kentucky, which is right below us here in Ohio, that we do not at all wish any ill will upon our so-called enemies, because they're not our enemies. Right. If we're all one. So, and that was one of the reasons on my program on Friday evenings why I talked about the whole idea of all the misinformation about vaccines, that I did not want to see anyone die, because unfortunately my mother passed away from COVID.
Yes.
So we don't want to see anyone. We don't want to wish anyone ill will at all.
Right.
Again, it's just the whole idea of we want love for all, including the people who are our so-called enemies. They're really are still our brothers and sisters that on some level, again, are misguided. So
yes, are just using the principles for generally ego-based needs, if you will, or their own self-aggrandizement, their own pocketbook. But New Thought has this wonderful thing, and Linda, I agree with you. Sometimes it does take regular monitoring.
Yes,
that means moment by moment. That means, there are probably about 1 billion. Let's be realistic. There's probably at least 100 things that come across my desk every day that I could easily become outraged about. But then I'm going to spend my whole day.
That's small an amount.
But
it's a lot more than that. Go ahead.
And then I spend my whole life in outrage.
Yes.
That's not what I want.
No.
I don't believe that's what you want. We don't believe that's what anybody out there really wants, is to be living in outrage. So we have to have these processes, have these practices that when the outrage hits, when the human monkey ego mind goes, that we have the process to say, okay, hold on a minute. Here's where my prayer work lies.
Right.
Here's where I need to turn within and look for a higher truth.
And coming from a place not of reaction, but from response.
Right.
What is the spiritual response to this, rather than getting all upset and doing crazy things? And I think that's what we're seeing in the world today, Reverend Robert. We're seeing people acting out of this outrage, rather than responding from, well, what would love do in this situation? And that's a great question to ask. What would love do in this situation?
Right.
So, and that's where we're coming from here on our network, is we're coming from a place of love, saying we need to, again, to take a look at these issues and to find solutions for them. Reverend Z and I talked about on New Thought Today about involving our congregations in active change in our communities. And there are so many things that our communities here, no matter how small or large, can be involved with. And here's one example. What if everyone ran a stress reduction program in their communities?
Yeah.
You know how to do that. You already know how to do that. And again, if you don't know how to do that, again, get with your denomination or even Google something online. If you just did that what would happen again, that would help the overall condition of everyone by helping people to manage and also to reduce their stress in their lives. You get outcomes, again, outcomes in health. You would get outcomes in reducing domestic violence. All these different outcomes, good outcomes that come about with us just taking this to the streets. We don't have to preach to people, but again, just to offer to the community a stress reduction class. That's simple.
And all right. And recognizing we're almost out of time here, folks. We hadn't planned to talk about this section, but I got to bring it in. Because if we want to see a change, we have to use the tools that we're given.
Yes.
Now, New Thought also very clearly preaches treat and move your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Do the prayer and then follow that prayer to inspired action.
Yes.
And follow that prayer to inspired action. And at the same time, so if we want to change politics, we pray and we get involved.
Yes.
Yeah. And we actually have before us one of the easiest ways in the world to get involved. And every one of us has the greatest gift available to get involved, and that's called your vote.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't tell you who to vote for. We don't tell you what to vote for, but we're going to tell you to go vote.
Absolutely.
And if you would like to learn a little bit more about a vision for the future of American politics, Marianne2024.com. Marianne Williamson announced this past week that she is again running for president of the United States. She ran in 2020. We all kind of knew immediately she was the longest shot of the long shots in 2020. And I so appreciate the fact that, one, she didn't withdraw from that race. She did not get the votes necessary to qualify for the ballot in most states, but she did not withdraw. And I'm really grateful to see she's back again, because it's simple. She understands this philosophy. She's been teaching A Course in Miracles for decades, and she is now bringing that into she's bringing herself to probably the riskiest game there is professionally, politics, in order to start the conversation. And she may never end up in a national office, but I have a feeling she's going to run every chance she gets until she's done on this planet, because she's blazing the trail for future generations of New Thoughters, men and women, to serve in various forms, to see that it can be done.
We have a couple of comments here I wanted to get up before we go here. Good old Wayne from Canada said, we have a right to choose our own attitude. That's from Dr. Viktor Frankl. And also, Linda says, I have already notified Walgreens that I will no longer spend any of my money with them. My small step of action. And if you're not familiar with what that is, Walgreens announced this week that they will not be carrying the morning after pill or any kind of abortion pills at 20 at locations in 20 states. So see again,
I wish Walgreens would have had the balls to stand up for women's rights in those 20 states. And they're taking a purely business related situation. They're afraid of being sued by the federal government for selling these drugs in those states. They're afraid of being sued by the states for selling those drugs in those states. This is a tricky one to totally tell Walgreens never. I would have loved if they would have stood up for them, but they had to weigh this out and recognize that they're still selling those drugs in the states where it's legal.
Yes.
But this is not Walgreens' fault as much as it is the state's fault. However, I would have loved to see Walgreens push the issue and take that to the courts. So I'm disappointed in them that they didn't.
Well, again, you can let Walgreens know that through
Yes.
actions that Linda did. You know,
Yep.
you can just go ahead and say, listen, I'm withdrawing my prescriptions from you because, again, that you have taken a stance on this. And so,
Because they didn't
again,
understand.
see, all of this is inspired action here. We are not calling for a boycott of Walgreens here.
Right.
But Linda has, from her consciousness, she says, this is something I need to do.
Yeah.
So that's a different story. So, yay, Linda.
Yeah, I agree. Yay, Linda.
Yay, Linda.
We're not making Walgreens right. We're not making Linda wrong. Again, this is one of those places where we've got to look at it from the perspective of what is best for each individual here.
Yes.
It's not just a wholesale, because in those states where they are allowed to, Walgreens is continuing. They didn't pull these drugs from all of their stores across the nation, just in the states where they face legal jeopardy. But good for you, Linda. Absolutely.
Yay, Linda.
Let them know your displeasure, and maybe they'll change their mind and say, wow, we need to take a stand for women's rights everywhere, not just where it's profitable and not just where it's safe.
Absolutely.
Walgreens living in fear. All right. Folks, we have about run out of time.
What? I thought this show went for 4 hours.
Yes, no. That ain't how it works.
Okay.
But you can catch more of both myself and Reverend Michael throughout the day here on New Thought Media Network. We got a lot going on.
Absolutely.
Our regular programming starts here shortly. Be Your Own Hero with Sekou Writes, our morning prayer, our morning sip, our morning Spanish language with Emma Moreno, and Practicing Infinite Possibilities with Lindsay Leinbach today. And we have a really, really special event today. The Affiliated New Thought Network, one of our organizational partners, is having their first ever virtual town hall. Starts at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. We'll be simulcasting that on their behalf here on the New Thought Media Network, as well as to some of their destinations. So you may see that. If you've ever wanted to learn a little bit more about the bigger world of New Thought, come check out the Affiliated New Thought Network's open house town hall today. All are welcome. Everyone's welcome to join and watch. It's going to be a great program, music, speakers, and more exploration of how we take New Thought out into the world. I'll be back later with the good news at 5 o'clock. And as we've said, Reverend Michael will be here at 6 with the Fireside Chat. He is showing a rerun, a rebroadcast of the last interview you got to do with one of your great mentors, Reverend Charlotte. We were so excited she was here on the network for the time she was, and unfortunately made an untimely passing just about a year ago, huh?
Yeah, so that's why you say, to all the people around you that you love them. You tell them your feelings, because again, it was hours after we did that. She went to work that evening. We had to record earlier, but she went to work that evening, and then about 1 o'clock in the morning, she went ahead and she made an emergency phone call. But by the time they got there, she made her transition. So yeah, and I still miss the woman. I still hear her voice in my ear calling me her road man. So no, it's just in honor of that, we're gonna replay that show tonight. So
good, perfect. All right, folks, we're gonna get out of here for now. Thank you for being with us. Thanks for being a part of the New Thought New Media Network. Please keep on coming back. Join us again and again and again and again, because we're going to keep doing this, and we're going to keep bringing you what we believe to be positive, inspiring, and uplifting media across the internet. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you again next week. Until then, wish you peace and richest blessings.
Bye now.
Bye now.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.